Okay, let's see if we can try this again. And I think my screen should be clear now. So let me know if you guys can hear me, can see me. And I don't want to hear myself twice, so let me clean that up. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know if you guys can see me. Technology be stressing me the hell out. So just let me know if you guys are good. Indeed. Okay, cool. So let's give everybody a chance to come back in. I'm gonna woosah and breathe so I can keep myself from sending somebody a proverbial punch in their throat online. So that's why I have my meditation music going in the background, because I am not from the social media era. Okay, cool. Thank you guys for coming back, for working with me, for your patience. I know some of you guys are still working. Some of you guys are maybe in your cars, driving home, maybe have your children in the background listening to me. Just wherever you are, mwah, I love and appreciate you guys so much. And this is going to be the official video, so let me just say a few things that I said before. First of all, my apologies for being late. You know, I have so much to say, and I didn't want to do Science as a Weapon, which was originally supposed to be part 4. So I switched it up. And my editing process to, you know, pick and choose what I say and what I don't say is, you know, a whole entity unto itself. So that's what I've been doing in the background, trying to get that together, and so that I can be as clear and concise as I possibly can, and to convey this message that the universe and the ancestors have put on my heart to speak to you guys. Thank you so much to each and every one of you guys that has purchased my books, purchased my workbooks, purchased merchandise from my website, sent cash apps, support and love, donations, birthday love. I'm just so grateful to you guys for being with me, for riding with me. I've been through so much in the past 10 years of my life, and in particular through social media, you know what I mean? And people have really tried to use this medium to tear me down, to break my spirit, you know, but I'm just in such a great place right now, and I'm so clear and so strong in my convictions for who I am and for what I stand for, and for the role that I know that I'm supposed to play in ushering a new world, a new world order, and not, you know, the darkness that is pervading the internet and the society. So, you know, I'm grateful for all of you guys for your time and attention. I try not to let the chat room, you know, sidetrack me, but sometimes I see comments, it'll stand out. And then if I see it, I can't not respond to it, because I am a lioness, like, you know, that person's just so eloquently said in the chat room. But I was originally planning on putting up Science as a Weapon, but with everything that's happening in the world right now, this was supposed to be the closing video, so to speak. But with everything that's happening in the world right now, I don't really want to add to the fear, because a lot of people, if not most people, particularly in America, are operating from a fear-based consciousness. And I don't want to be a part of that. So I push back on Science as a Weapon. I'm going to talk about a few things in particular from that video, from that presentation, specifically masks, and a couple of other things. And I don't want to get too controversial because I don't want YouTube to take this video down. I'm willing to sacrifice science as a weapon because I know when I start talking that type of talk, that censorship is heavy. But this particular message is more of a spiritual based message. So I want as many people that I could possibly reach to hear it. And YouTube is, a good platform for that. If for any reason they take this video down, I have my own website, so it's all good. I can just put it back up there. And I may even cut out, certain parts that get me flagged just to put this back up. Most of this video is going to be about the psychological war and the spiritual element of what's happening right now. All right. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I went through the back channel. I went through Zoom instead of dealing with YouTube. So I feel like we should have a much clearer and concise meeting. So I'm going to pull up my screen just to make sure that I can share my screen, make sure you guys can see me well. Okay, there we go. I love Zoom. I don't even know why I played myself trying to go through YouTube. Zoom is what I use for my customers. I mean, not my customers, my clients, my workshops. Zoom is just a bomb. So once again, thank you guys for being with me. I can't see the chat room. So I don't really know what's happening there, but let me see. Maybe I can find it. I don't even know where my video is. Q, can you send me a link to this video? Because I can't see it. If you can send me the link to the video so I can pull it up on my phone, that would be really wonderful. If you could send it to me on Instagram so I can see you guys in the chat room and just to make sure that my sound and the quality of the video and everything is good. All right. So just send me a message, Q, and let me know that. Send me a link to the video so I can watch the chat room so I can know that you guys can see me. In the meantime, I'm going to assume that you can see little me in the top right hand corner and then see the main page, there. Okay, she's typing me now. She's sending me a message now. Okay, got it. There we go. I need to know what's happening in my world. You know what I'm saying? In the chat room, I need to make sure I'm being abreast with everything. So open this up in the chat room in my app. All right, cool. Here we go. Perfect. The Gods Are at War, Part 4, Spiritual War, number 3. World War III is a spiritual war. Okay, thank you, Danielle. Much love, sis. And of course, it is I, ZaZa Ali. Today is my birthday, my 42nd birthday. And one thing that I was saying in the other, let me just show you this so you guys can see me. One thing that I was saying in the other video is that as a student of Kemetic history and the Kemetic mythology system, I always knew that 42 was going to be a significant year for me. For one, the 42 laws of Ma'at. And then, the year 42 is significant in the Kemetic mystery system because they call it Sonam Bonum. And they say that is the amount of time that it takes for, a student who is aspiring to be a master teacher or a master of themselves to get to that point. And so I always kind of have 42 in the back of my mind, little asterisk in the back of my mind, like that's going to be my year. I have been through a lot of trials and tribulations over the past 10 years. And I just want to thank those of you guys that are with me, that started with me, that saw a lot of things said about me, a lot of people attacking me, a lot of people on social media making videos about me, assaulting my character, all things work for the greater good. And as I've said time and time again, they have all served the Queen very well because I am so much better for it. I'm in the best place mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically in my life. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in this video, as we're all facing this quote unquote health crisis, how we're all kind of being spanked for taking advantage of our temples and for not really caring for our bodies in the right way in order to keep humanity evolving. You know what I'm saying, at a righteous pace. But I always knew that 42 was going to be a significant year for me, and so here I am. In a really good place, and just so grateful for this opportunity to sit and talk to you guys. So let me pull my presentation back up. I put up a link on Facebook, and that's no longer accurate. Danielle, can you do me a favor? Can you go to my Facebook channel and go to YouTube and just put a comment under both of the posts that I really put up and say, you know, she started a new live, here's the link, or search, or go to her YouTube channel and search and look for her new live, because I don't want to sidestep myself or lose track of time anymore. On my Facebook channel, my business channel, and on my Instagram. Could you please do that for me, my sister? Thank you so much. Shop ZaZa.com is for my books. Instagram, I_am_ZaZa_Ali. Facebook, ZaZa Ali. My Cash App is here. And today is my birthday, and I am accepting all birthday love. I also have an Amazon wish list that I meant to put on here, but I totally forgot. And then my email address is info@zazaali.com. And thank you to all you beautiful souls that have sent me birthday love in these past couple of days. I have gotten it. I'm thankful for each and every one of you. This is my business card. This is an e-flyer version of my business card. I'm an author, a life strategist, and a spiritual advisor, as well as an entrepreneur. So anybody that's interested in working with me privately, you can contact me directly, and we can see if we'd be a good fit. These are my 6 books that I have self-published. Black Matters, the Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs is specifically important to what's happening in the world right now. And again, I don't want to get too much into that because I don't want my video to be flagged. I'm going to try to be careful as I can. Keys to Womanhood is my most recent workbook. It is dedicated to girls and women, and I am taking pre-orders right now. And I have 3 of my books here with me. The Science of Self, Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance, which is shipping out this week. And then also Plagues of Dysfunction, volume 2 of my book. So y'all make sure y'all support the writer in me. And here we go. So I just wanted to, you guys know, I always try to give historical context to, you know, kind of make the point of why I use the language that I use, you know, when I title these videos and whatnot. So those of you who aren't familiar with World War I and World War II, this is just a little bit of backdrop. I don't like to read a lot during my presentations, but I also like to arm you guys with the right type of information to set up the alley-oop, so to speak, right? To set up where I'm going. So in slides like this, where there's a little bit more reading, just bear with me. But this information is important for us to know so we can understand the time that we're living in right now. So World War I was also known as the Great War. It began in 1914 after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. His murder catapulted into a war across Europe that lasted until 1918. During the conflict, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire, or the Central Powers, fought against Great Britain, France, Russia, Italy, Romania, Japan, and the United States, the Allied powers. Thanks to new military technologies and the horrors of trench warfare, World War I saw unprecedented levels of carnage and destruction. By the time the war was over and the Allied powers claimed victory, more than 16 million people, soldiers and civilians alike, were dead. Important thing to note, Nikola Tesla, if you're not familiar with who Nikola Tesla is, he's behind a lot of the, you know, it says modern technology is what advanced, much love for the super chats. Modern technology is what advanced, you know, them to be able to win this war. Well, Nikola Tesla was talking about the secrets of energy and the secrets of vibration and frequency. I can't remember the exact time frame, but I know World War II for sure, and I'm pretty sure World War I. This information was already they were already aware of this information. But Nikola Tesla is very important, especially when it comes to the atomic bomb and some other information that I'm going to share. The instability created in Europe by the First World War, which lasted from 1914 to 1918, set the stage for another international conflict, World War II, which broke out 2 decades later and would prove even more devastating. Rising to power in an economically and politically unstable Germany, Adolf Hitler, the leader of the Nazi Party, rearmed the nation and signed strategic treaties with Italy and Japan to further his ambitions of world domination. Hitler's invasion of Poland in September 1939 drove Great Britain and France to declare war on Germany, marking the beginning of World War II. Over the next 6 years, the conflict would take more lives and destroy more land and property around the globe than any previous war. Among the estimated 45 to 60 million people killed were 6 million Jews murdered in Nazi concentration camps as part of Hitler's diabolical final solution, now known as the Holocaust. Now, the number of people that actually died in the Holocaust is very suspect. There's a lot of information out there that could, rebuke or at least bring more context to that. But I have to say that as a side note because it's important, because the Holocaust was necessary for a lot of the cultural norms that we recognize today. Also, what we know as the Jews today, and in particular the Ashkenazi Jews, who are from the Caucasus Mountains and who have completely taken over the historical legacy of the true Jews, who are the Hebrews or the Ethiopian Jews. They are at the top of the pyramid, the Ashkenazi Jews. I'm going to show my infamous pyramid. I'm going to show that in a couple of slides just to make sure to bring this context. But the Ashkenazi Jews, there are some of them that are absolutely at the top of that pyramid and are also involved with a lot of the, half-truths when it comes to the Jewish Holocaust. So 16 million people died in World War I, and then somewhere between 40 to 60 million in World War II. And then what kind of brought the entire war to a halt was the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They dropped atomic bombs on these two places. Now, this is what's funny, and this is the mind fuck that you have to be cognizant of. And pardon my language, but just bear with me. I'm always trying to help people see through the program. And so some of what I talk about when people say, oh, you should stop responding to certain things, or you should stop engaging certain people. It's like, I'm not just giving information. I'm trying to help this society that is not really adept to being real students and researchers, and people that just don't know how to decipher information. I'm trying to help people to understand how to look through what's being said or look through what's being presented to see the real actual truth. I'm not checking my text messages, but if you guys follow me on Facebook and Instagram, do me a favor, go to my most recent post and let them know that I have a new live link, because it's different than the one that I put up. And if you could post the link, post it there. On my Instagram, on my Facebook, just put the link so people know where to find the video. I would definitely appreciate that. Thank you guys for the super chats, much love. So they say for the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, that there were between 90,000 and 146,000 people that were killed in Hiroshima, and then between 39,000 and 80,000 people killed in Nagasaki. That number is nowhere near close to what the actual numbers are. There were millions of people that were directly and indirectly killed. And still to this day, those areas you drop an atomic bomb, the impact that it has on the water, on the air, on the soil, on the psychology of the people there, on the plants, on the produce, is just astronomical. The impact that that was had there. And I want to tell you guys this stuff to give some context, because when I start talking about this psychological war and how evil and wicked and vindictive these people are, you say, oh, ZaZa, that don't sound, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you're doing too much, or you're putting too much on it. No, we have plenty of history. I mean, in the Congo alone, Leopold killed 30 million Congolese people, like was cutting off arms and legs of children, you know what I'm saying? So this is why it's important to study history, to study the people and the ideologies that gave birth to the people that are in power at the top of the pyramid right now. Thank you so much to you guys for the super chats. Much love. I'm getting notifications in my Cash App for the birthday love. I appreciate all of you guys so much. So now let's come to today. I'm going to need you to breathe. Yes, Cash App is definitely better. YouTube definitely takes money from me. Thank you very much, Christopher, for that. So here we are today, November 5th, 2020. I need your logical, rational minds front and center. The election was on the 3rd. Today's the 6th. It was the 3rd, right? Tuesday. We have never in the history of American politics, this is completely unprecedented, where there has not been a president decided on the day of the actual election, right? There's been controversy, you know, Gore and Bush. They said one person was, you know, the whole popular versus electoral vote, Hillary Clinton and Trump, you know, but we have had, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, we have known who the president was going to be on election night, right? So right now we're sitting still at Joe Biden with 264 electoral votes, Trump with 214. And depending on where you look, those numbers aren't even the same, because I've been having it playing in the background on my TV to see what was going on. These numbers aren't even the same numbers that they're reporting on television. But let's just roll with this, because I got this from the Associated Press online, right? Joe Biden has 72,440,000 votes at the time of this message. Donald Trump has 68,894,000 votes at the time of the message, right? The states that are still in limbo is Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Now, in my mind, that lets me know, okay, there's people in play in those states that are playing their position. They're on post, whether it's people that are actually taking ballots, accepting ballots, whether it's people that are in local city government and officials, local government, state government, the mayors, the governor, little people in positions of power in that area that are holding this thing up, right? But I really, really, really need to say something, and I need for you guys to look in my face when I say this. If your spidey senses are not tingling right now, that's why I put the little Spider-Man up on the image. If your spidey senses are not tingling right now, if your intuition is not telling you that something is very, very wrong right now, then the plan is working. The plan is working on you and on the collective consciousness. And I see all of these political pundits and these people that, Black, white, and other, that are in the political spectrum. And I see celebrities and I see people with large followings. Oh, you just need to be patient. Let's just let it wait itself out. We just need to be patient and let the results come in. How can you not see third eye, not here, here? How can you not see that something is very, very wrong with this picture? And let me put this into context. And I hope I have my slides in early, but if I don't, or in order, but if I don't, I'm gonna find it. Let's see. I'm looking for one particular slide. This is it. Is this it? All right, here we go. They have been preparing you. This is a screenshot. I did a search on delays in, much love for the super chat. I did a search on delays in election results 2020. They've been preparing, and I only went back to July. They've been saying and telling you that this presidential election was going to be delayed at least since July. I only searched since July because I don't want to go back too far because I don't want to get too many results. National Geographic, the US has never delayed a presidential election. Here's what to expect. Fearing delays and chaos, swing states weigh in early. I didn't, pull a whole thing up. USA Today, Trump suggests delaying election. Can Trump delay the election? History teaches us election delays are nothing new. This is on governing.com. So the question you have to ask yourself is, why have they slowly, methodically been preparing you for this delay? And who, because a lot of people are blaming Trump right now. Everybody's focused on Trump, like Trump has this type of power to have the media outlets, to have Google, to have YouTube, to have Instagram, to have Facebook. You can't even type anything on Instagram right now about the election without them putting up a link with information to steer you to what they want you to see or to steer you to what they want you to think. So while Trump is a despicable narcissist demon, no doubt, if you have the ability to decipher information and your third eye is operating in a righteous place, something should tell you this is bigger than Trump. Trump does not have this type of power. And there's more to this than what meets the eye. Trump tests positive for corona. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. I don't know if you guys are with me when I started out, but I was trying to get all of my slides in order, but I deleted some stuff and then I moved some stuff around. So if I have to move around a little bit, just bear with me because I want to, I have it in my mind the way I wanted to present it. So Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. These are the holdups. So the whole entire world is sitting at the edge of their seats right now, based on 4 states being unable to calculate their voting tallies when America has been doing this shit for how many years now? How can your spidey senses not be tingling? How can your intuition not be telling you something is wrong? Not to mention, I'll get into that in just a second. So the face mask thing, right? Let me be clear. I'm not telling you not to wear face masks. Wear face masks. Do whatever you need to do to protect yourself health-wise, to protect your family, to protect the people that you love. But I need you to see the program that is being operated and the way that it is being used and what it's being used for. This image of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden walking into the Democratic National Convention with their masks on, right? And I can't tell you how many media operatives or media persons that I've seen doing interviews with masks on. Bruh, why are you wearing a mask? There's nobody within your vicinity. You're sitting in your house in front of your bookcase. Why do you have on a mask? It's programming. This is a ritual that the people at the top of the pyramid are utilizing in order to harness your energy to manifest what they have coming up, what they're planning.
What I want to tell you guys about the face mask is that when you're wearing a face mask, you're actually decreasing the flow of oxygen into your mouth. We're a species we're actually a physiological system that's dependent upon oxygen. Plants depend on carbon dioxide, which is what we breathe out. And then plants breathe out oxygen, which is what we breathe in. Well, when you've got a mask on, you're restricting the flow of oxygen. And when you're restricting the flow of oxygen, that causes stress in the body because you're not getting enough oxygen. You're almost having to fight for air. Well, that drives your cortisol levels up, which is the stress hormone, and that increases the sympathetic mimetic tone in the body, or the flight-fight response. And it also suppresses the immune system, because when you have increase in cortisol, increase in steroids, you have a decrease in the immune system. And of course, we want the immune system to be peak if we're concerned about any type of an opportunistic illness. On top of that, you'll hear tonight on part 6, I'm not sure in which part it'll be, whether it's tonight's part or tomorrow's part, or whichever part you'll hear. There's 4 parts. You'll hear Dr. Mikowitz talk about what happens when you restrict the airway by having a mask over it. So you're again creating more stress. And remember that viruses are particles of DNA and RNA that exist inside our cells. So during a period of stress, during a period of toxicological onslaught, during a period of any type of significant physiological change, when the body is stressed, you'll have a release of these viruses, very similar to exosomes, which Dr. Kaufman's talked about. So essentially, some of us think that they're one and the same, but essentially you have an increase in the viral shedding, if you will, for a lack of a better term. You have an increase in the viral release in your system when your body's stressed. So now you're walking around with the mask on, you're actually going to increase the yield of the viral components that are being released from the cell, because you're being stressed, because you're wearing something that's restricting your ability to breathe.
Now, to Dr. Buttar's, who I'm very grateful for being a voice of science and reasoning in the midst of a bunch of parrots and people that just regurgitate information, even doctors, even scientists. This article was posted August 19, 2008. And thank you to Wali Bahar for sending this to me and leading me down the rabbit hole that I eventually went down with this information. Bacterial pneumonia caused most deaths in 1918 influenza pandemic. Now, if you don't know about the 1918 Spanish flu, I talked about this in Black Matters Volume 1, and it's so interesting that you know what I mean, that I for it to be a focal point. Anyway, yeah. It always amazes me how the universe works through me with the vision and foresight, and then what I'm saying eventually comes to light. Like man, sometimes it's hard for me to even process that. But bacterial pneumonia caused most deaths in 1918 influenza pandemic. The majority, and mind you, this was posted in 2008, and this was on NIH.org. This is a government health-based website. The majority of deaths during the influenza pandemic of 1918 and 1919 were not caused by the influenza virus acting alone, report researchers from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, part of the National Institute of Health, stated. Instead, most victims succumbed to bacterial pneumonia following influenza virus infection. The pneumonia was caused when bacteria that normally inhabits the nose and throat invaded the lungs along a pathway created when the virus destroyed the cells that lined the bronchial tubes and lungs. A future influenza pandemic may unfold in a similar manner, says the NIAID authors, whose paper in the October 1st issue of the Journal of Infectious Disease is now available online. Therefore, the authors conclude comprehensive pandemic preparations should include not only efforts to produce new or improved influenza vaccines and antiviral drugs, but also provisions to stockpile antibiotics and bacterial vaccines as well. Now, check this out. The work presents complementary lines of evidence from the fields of pathology and history of medicine to support this conclusion. The weight of evidence we examined from both historical and modern analysis of the 1918 influenza pandemic favors a scenario in which viral damage followed by bacterial pneumonia led to the vast majority of deaths, says co-author Director Anthony Fauci, MD. I'm pretty sure you guys know who Anthony Fauci is. In essence, the virus landed the first blow while bacteria delivered the knockout punch. And I have videos of Anthony Fauci Thank you for the super chat. I have videos of Anthony Fauci originally saying there's no need to wear masks, and then later on saying that we're probably going to need to mandate masks until 2022. I'll show you guys that in the Science as a Weapon part 5. If I even do that as part 5, I may just do that as a separate entity unto itself. So then the natural question to me, well, what is bacterial pneumonia? And they talked about the bronchial tubes, like how is this relative? Bacterial pneumonia is an infection of your young lungs caused by certain bacteria. The most common one is streptococcus or pneumococcus, hope I'm saying that right. But other bacteria can cause it too. If you're young and basically healthy, these bacteria can live in your throat without causing any trouble. But if your body's defenses or immune system become weak for some reason, the bacteria can go down into your lungs. When this happens, the air sacs in your lungs get infected and inflamed. They fill up with fluid, and that causes pneumonia. Now, if you look at this image right here, these two tubes are what are considered the bronchial tubes. And your trachea, which connects your throat to your nose, your nasal system. So in essence, when you are wearing your mask, the whole process of breath is you breathe in air, right? As an oxygenated being, you breathe in air, the oxygen goes into your system, goes into your lungs, cleans out your lungs, cleans out your internal organs, cleans out your blood. And then when you breathe that air out, which you should be breathing it out of your mouth, not your nose, but your mouth, you are expelling what they call carbon dioxide or all of those toxins that are in your blood, that are in your lungs, et cetera, et cetera. We breathe in toxic air every day. Clean air, breathe dirty air, whatever it is, the dirty particles that are in your system, the inhale, exhale process is to clean your blood system out and to regulate the other faculties of the body. So I've said this to multiple people that I've talked to, and I may have even said this in a video. I can pretty much set my watch next year. The big thing is going to be people getting sick because of wearing these masks. I don't need to have a doctor tell me what I'm saying. I do yoga. Not only do I do yoga, I've studied the science of breath. I've taught the science of breath. I know how I feel when I breathe properly versus when I don't feel properly. I'm more prone to anxiety when I'm not breathing right and stress, opposed to when I do breathe right and I'm taking in full deep breaths of oxygen, right? There's a whole thing that happens with your body, with your brain when you breathe properly. And most people breathe very shallow breaths. I've been talking about this for a long time of the importance of breath. I think it is almost as important as what you eat, depending on who you are. But it is my unfortunate guesstimate that in 2021, we are going to see a very high uptick in pneumonia cases and in respiratory cases and in issues with the lungs and issues with the kidneys and issues with the different aspects of the body that depend on this breathing system that God put in place in order to help you navigate and to live at your highest and best self. Much love for the super chat. So my question is, how did we get so off track? And people say, well, why do you say the gods are at war? Let me bring myself up real quick. Why do you say the gods are at war? There's only one God. Why do you keep saying that? Then they'll point me to their particular scripture and tell me that that's the end all be all, which is absurd. We live in one galaxy out of billions of galaxies. The depth and the magnitude of this universe, of this planet, is so far-fetched from what we can even conceive. You think that one book is supposed to govern all of this? That's absurd. But anyway, and I had a lot of people reach out to me about what I said about Islam and Christianity and feeling some type of way. And I thought I made it clear, I'm not an anti-religious person. The bottom line is Where are you practicing your religion from, your higher or your lower self? Where do you practice your Pan-Africanism from, your higher or your lower self? Where do you practice your atheism from? Where do you practice as an agnostic from? Where do you practice as a Buddhist from, your higher or lower self? That's what's really governing this. Whatever you believe in, you empower it. So if you believe that the Bible is the book of the Creator and that this book is going to make manifest in your life and in reality, then that's what the universe is going to give you. You are the ruler of your universe. Your level of consciousness is determining the type of experiences that you have in the physical realm. But my point about the masks, and I had people that wrote me real slick, sarcastic comments, and I never told anyone to not wear masks. I said, when I go outside, I do not wear masks, and nothing is going to get in between me and Mother Nature or God. Because God has given us all the tools, armed us with all of the tools to take care of our bodies, to take care of our health and well-being. And we are under divine judgment right now because we have not been paying attention and we have not been utilizing those tools. So let's deal with the science of this, right? Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you so much. How we get sick, a recipe for illness. You and Fred, this is an example that this guy wrote up about understanding how the immune system works. You and Fred are in the car and Fred has the flu. The flu virus is a pathogen or disease-causing germ. Fred is the reservoir where the virus lives. The flu germs need three things: a way to get out of the reservoir out of Fred, a mode of transportation to a new home, and a way to get into their new home, which would be you. Fred sneezes, ejecting the flu germs. The virus particles fly out of his mouth and into the car that you're in, and you, the host, breathe them in. Will you get sick? You, the host, must be susceptible. Whether or not you get Fred's flu depends on the health of your own immune system and the strength and quantity of the virus that inconsiderate Fred spewed into the air. Now, this is for smart Alex who sent me the little smart comments about, oh, you think your frequency is going to save you. You hope you don't get sick. You know, that low vibrational shit. If I can go to a restaurant and sit 6 feet away from other people that aren't wearing masks, and I can interact with a host or with a waiter that is standing approximately 4 feet, maybe 5 feet away from me, and I can engage and I can eat, and the wind is blowing and I'm sitting outside and everybody's comfortable and everybody feels safe. That is the parameter for me being able to walk outside in public and be amongst people that may or may not be sick and not be contagious and not take on anyone else's contagiousness. I don't even know, like sometimes I really feel sad for humanity and how I don't want to be mean-spirited. And I want to say this in the right way, but the lack of discernment and the lack of people's ability to process information and think for themselves, like the program and how the program is so easy to put forward now is really scary. And this situation with the coronavirus really kind of underscored to me how few people there are on the planet that actually have their own minds, their own brains that can decipher and disseminate information and then make intelligent choices for themselves. When we talk about susceptibility, we are asking, how strong is your immune system? We all know someone who gets any cold or any flu that's going around and someone else who never gets sick. Washing your hands is one very important way to protect yourself and reduce your susceptibility by cutting down on the number of pathogens you bring to your body's entry points. This is really simple, right? In the book, The Science of Breath, Yogi Ramacharaka says many contagious diseases are contracted by the habit of mouth breathing. And many cases of cold and catarrhal affections are also attributable to the same cause. When the blood takes up oxygen and releases carbonic acid gas generated from the waste products and poisonous matter which has been gathered up by the blood from all parts of the system. The blood, thus purified and oxygenated, is carried back to the heart, again, rich, red, and bright, and laden with life-giving properties. Unless fresh air in significant quantities reaches the lungs, the foul stream of venous blood, he's talking about the dirty blood, cannot be purified, and consequently, not only is the blood robbed of nourishment, but the waste products which would have been destroyed are returned to the circulation and poison the system. This is what is happening right now for people that are wearing masks for long extended times. I had to wear a mask yesterday when I went to get my hair done, and that is the longest. And I think my appointment was probably like 2.5 hours. And I didn't wear it the whole time. I usually take it off of my nose. I like to respect the laws, but when I was with her around other people, I want to respect the establishment, not make anybody feel uncomfortable. If I had that mask on for 30 minutes, I start to get headaches. I start to feel uncomfortable. I start to feel pressed because I'm so used to breathing in full, deep breaths that it is very counterproductive and dangerous for me, to not be taking in oxygen and cleaning out my system, and at the same time retelling myself that everything is okay, that my body is okay, and that it's operating at its highest capacity. And when I'm not feeling good, that's when I know that it's not operating at its highest capacity. So let's look at 2020, right? This paradigm shift, this age of Aquarius that you hear people talking about, right? Drink some water. Thank you for the birthday love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I'm seeing the Cash App, if I get a notification and I see it, I appreciate you guys, and for the super chat. So beginning of 2020, Kobe Bryant passes away with his daughter in a very traumatic helicopter crash, which I said when I addressed this before, that this is a part of moving us back into a heart-centered, love-based frequency, right? The impact that his life and his passing had on the world as a Black man, particularly a Black man in America, and the ripples that it sent through society, right? And then you have the coronavirus pandemic, which pretty much started in America, January 20th. Some people will look at the end of December, and say, well, this person had it, or I thought this, but specifically they're stamping the timeline at January 20th, when the United States started to confirm viruses, or confirm people had it. The outbreak of the virus, which began in Wuhan, China, has sickened more than 14.7 million people. At least 610,000 people have died, which those numbers don't even really, when it comes to the number of people that die from hepatitis or that die from the flu. But science as a weapon, I'll get into all of the science of that. I'm not specifically honing in on COVID-19 right now. February 3rd, the United States implements mandatory quarantines for the first time in 50 plus years over the new coronavirus. May 25th, George Floyd is murdered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Derek Chauvin is arrested in, what was that? June, I think. Did I put the date? Okay. I want to say he was arrested in, May, June, it was July. Derek Chauvin is arrested. Now, mind you, there's no video footage of Derek Chauvin being arrested, no video footage of him inside the police, being taken out of the car, being fingerprinted, being booked, right? That's usually, they show you that information when they want the public, especially when there's riots and madness happening. They usually show you that to calm the people down, to reiterate that the law enforcement is doing their job, that everything's okay. We've got this guy now. There's absolutely no footage anywhere on the internet. I've looked and looked and looked and looked. If you haven't, send it to me. I have not seen it. There's no information of this guy actually being taken into custody, being in custody, etc. I think there was some video footage of when he showed up in court, which that's another story. But as far as his arrest is concerned, right? So the George Floyd protests start kicking off sometime in June, and obviously the Ahmaud Arbery case was still lingering. The Breonna Taylor case was still lingering. There were several other police brutality cases, you know, that were popular that led to the Black Lives Matter protests, etc. But George Floyd is the one that kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, when all hell broke loose, right? Because the audacity of a police officer, a white police officer, to sit with so much boldness and to be so unbothered by the fact that people are filming him murder someone over the course of 8 minutes. My opinion, and you guys can take this for whatever it's worth, I think that Derek Chauvin was a hitman, and that he either received a direct order or an indirect order to kill him specifically or to kill a Black man. If you don't know about MK Ultra and mind control techniques that law enforcement and government, United States government uses, I don't want to get into all of that. But I say that for a specific reason, not just because he knelt down on his neck and killed him, right? Not just because it's on film, not just because of the audacity, right, of this devil to do this in front of the world, but everything that happened since. The world was on a complete standstill. Let you guys see me for just a second. Oh, I can't do it from here. The world was on a complete standstill for COVID-19. And I believe that the infections weren't spreading fast enough. They weren't having the impact that they expected them to have. And again, I'll get into that in the next video. So plan B, or part 2 of the plan, was Black Lives Matter. And I believe that the sisters who are from Oakland started Black Lives Matter with a righteous intention, but that now is a tentacle of the vehicle or the plan that's being carried out by the powers that be, the people that are at the top of the pyramid. Now, I know for some people this is too much to process, but because I've been studying this for a long time, and because I understand, once I really started studying chemtrails, like everything beyond that was not difficult, far-fetched for me to conceive. Once you really learn how these people operate, once you really learn like how they send people into third world countries around the world, and how they methodically use natural resources and money and dictators in order to control people around the world, you don't really put a lot past these people, right? So I'm looking at the George Floyd murder. I'm looking at the response. I'm looking at the way the media is covering it. I'm looking at bricks being put out on regular street corners for people for martial law to be implemented. They brought martial law to Atlanta and nobody was even picking up dust. They had the National Guard in Atlanta and literally nobody was even protesting. I think they expected a much more revolutionary response from Americans, and it didn't happen because people were so afraid. But the virus also wasn't taking hold at the level that they expected it to, based on previous experience, which I'll get into in Science as a Weapon. So because it wasn't taking hold at the pace, they had to pivot and give people something else to focus on, and at the same time create a narrative to blame people. And what better narrative than white, Black, and everybody coming together and marching in the streets around the world by the hundreds of thousands, if not the millions, in order to re-stimulate the original intention without people being like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Like there's video footage of people that have gone to hospitals in places where there's supposed to be high spikes in coronavirus and high deaths. And people are going to these places and the hospitals are like laid back and there's no activity and there's no movement. So they needed to shift people's attention, shift what people were paying attention to, keeping you in a low vibrational frequency. Fear-based consciousness, anger is a low vibrational frequency. You can feel whatever way you want to feel about that, but that is a fact. Anger debilitates the body. Much love for the super chat. Much love for the Cash App. Anger debilitates the body. Anger keeps you from moving at a pace or in a space that will elevate you and that will free you. Hatred. You can hate the white man all you want to, but as long as you hate him, you cannot be connected to God. The people at the top of the pyramid understand this. We don't. And when I say we, I'm talking about the collective consciousness. So protests happening everywhere. Then next thing you know, Chadwick Boseman passed away. Again, and I'm not putting any conspiracy on that. I'm showing you that the people on the surface are working, and then God and consciousness and energy is working at the same time, right? Because again, this is cultivating a temperament in Black people, in particular in America, but in the world. Work tugging at the heartstrings, working on your power center, which is your heart, the heart chakra, pushing you and pulling you, getting you to focus on where it really matters, right? And at the same time, putting the entire world on pause. Then we have our second wave, right? And depending on who you ask, we're in the second wave or we're in the third wave, right? But they started talking about the second wave. What is this? November. I would say around July and August, that's when the second wave language started popping up, right? A second wave is coming. We may have new lockdowns, et cetera, et cetera. Then Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, Ghislaine, or whatever her name is, this other demon, gets arrested, right? Why am I saying this? Because man plans and God plans, right? Man plans, God laughs, right? Underneath the surface, there is what's done in the dark is coming to light now. And they're telling on themselves in so many different ways. They've told you in so many movies over the past 15 years that a virus was coming that was going to potentially kill millions, if not hundreds of thousands of people. They've been telling you in the movies. And like I said in the other videos, Satan needs your consent. Satan needs your consent. So you watch the movie and you don't think anything of it. Or you pay attention to what's happening in the political arena, Biden and Trump telling you, Biden said, I'm going to shut the country down if it's up to me, if the numbers keep growing, right? But at the same time, this industry of pedophilia, thank you, Gemini Blue, for the super chat. This industry of pedophilia, which is not only in Hollywood, it's also in our communities. Our daughters get snatched off the streets all the time. Our artists don't say anything about it. They love to talk about police brutality. They will not touch sexual abuse. And saw a Black man snatch a white girl in London. Not recently, if you saw that video, and the girl was crying and talking about what he did to her. And I'm reading the comments on the Shade Room and they're like, why did he have to be Black? Oh, it's a white girl, who cares? Like, what? Huh? Godless people, right? So Jeffrey Epstein's, and she's holding all of her trump cards because she knows a lot of things about a lot of very high profile people, right? And then we start talking about the third wave of the coronavirus, which is now what all of the headlines, all of the news headlines are talking about. The third wave of COVID-19 is here and it's getting worse. US may face substantial third wave of coronavirus in the US, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what's being said what are they saying without saying it? What's the implication when it comes to the second and the third wave? Marching and protesting. What legitimate reason would they have for a second or third wave when the numbers started to decrease and things started to go back to normal? And I'm not talking about people walking down the streets without masks or some random dude in Walmart kicking up dust because he doesn't want his rice strips and he wants to go and buy a ham and cheese sandwich from Walmart without a mask on. That's petty, and that's like, those people aren't even remotely important. And what's so funny about us is that we share that stuff. We want to keep proving the shit that doesn't even matter. So what is the underlying alibi for a second and third wave of corona? Black Lives Matter. Hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets amongst each other, elbow to elbow, many, if not most, moving in a fear-based frequency and a fear-based consciousness and an anger-based consciousness, which means you are operating with absolutely no power. This is science. It's not my opinion. When you move and you operate from an anger-based position or a fear-based position, whether it's because somebody got killed or you dealing with your baby daddy or somebody upset you at the store, you are not in alignment with your higher self. Therefore, the protection of the universe and God, when you fall off your square. And I'm not saying that COVID-19 is not real. Stop playing with me. I wrote a whole book talking about biological weapons, and I know this shit is real. But what they're saying, the picture that they're painting is not. So I want to paint a picture for you guys, right? In this era of COVID-19, where everybody's so afraid of getting sick, and everybody's so afraid of their neighbor, and everybody's so afraid of people walking around without masks, or everybody's so afraid of coming in contact with regular human beings. I'm going to stay in the house. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to wait this out. Fear-based consciousness, right? Over the past 30 years, there has been a very specific and targeted and subtle and brilliant, with all due respect, plan to debilitate your immune system. And it's not just processed foods and fluoridated water and fluoride in your toothpaste and aluminum in your deodorant. And I'm hoping everybody that's watching knows, because knows those basic things, because there's no excuse to not know that anymore in 2020. Ignorance is no longer an excuse for any of us. We have too much access to too much information, right? So we live in a high level of, what's the word? Everything we do is being watched. We're under constant scrutiny, constant monitoring on a local level, on a statewide level, on a national level, and on a global level. I took this picture on the left in Baltimore, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And I just was astounded by the number of cameras, like on one pole, not like on a block. This was one pole. And obviously this is in the hood, right? In Atlanta, they got cameras that line the freeways. That's why a lot of these murder cases that aren't getting solved is perplexing to me, especially when these police officers are involved, because we know you have it on camera. There's cameras everywhere. Everything's on film, right? Then you got your genetically modified trees, or your Wi-Fi antennas and your cell phone antennas that are now being hidden in trees, right? What is this about? Why don't you just put the antenna up? Why are you trying to hide it? These are trees that have cell phone towers hidden within them. And most people, none will be the wiser, are so ingrained and engrossed in whatever is happening in their lives that they have absolutely no clue. This has been happening for 20 years now. Then you've got your food. You've got your natural watermelon that has the black seed. The black seed is life. One black seed in a watermelon could potentially rebirth 1,000 watermelons, right? But now we go to the store and ask for seedless watermelons. Why? Because it's inconvenient to eat seeds. Not stopping and saying, wait a minute, why doesn't it have seeds? Well, what's the importance of the seeds? Genetically modified salmon. And you have farm raised salmon, and the jury's still out on that, that whole I know people that farms, fish that are very, that are righteous brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying? And I would assume they are taking every precaution to make sure that they are, not producing food that's going to harm people, but it's not the same as buying wild, right? The salmon on the top is the genetically modified salmon. The three on the top, depending on how they were grown or how they were fed, but the one at the top is the gold. The ones at the bottom are the natural salmon. Now, if you look at the difference in the size of those salmon, you have to ask yourself, how is that possible? And what is that doing to my body? You still eat pork? These are pigs that are being farmed for your delicacy. Those are real pigs. Now, what do you think happens to your body if you eat that? What do they pump into those pigs to make them look like that? Vaccinations, metal fillings in your teeth. I talk about all this stuff in Black Matters Volume 1. Chemtrails, which is spraying an innumerous amount of toxic chemicals into our upper atmosphere. Much love for the super chat. Much love for the super chats. Thank you guys so much. Spraying these metal particulates into our upper atmosphere. So we literally have aluminum, barium, strontium, polymer fibers that are falling out of the sky, and we are breathing it in. Of course, you have your cell phone towers, and now 5G is what everybody's talking about. Fluoride in your water, which is absolutely unnecessary, but they tell you that you need it to strengthen your tooth enamel, which is absurd. Antidepressant pills, which more than half of the people in this country are addicted to prescription pills. And like I talked about in Black Matters Volume 1, that runoff from people using the bathroom that take these pills, it goes back into the water system. It goes through the water filtration system, but they cannot completely absolve that water of those particles. So it ends up coming back into the tap water that you drink. I do not drink tap water, and I 100% do not advise anybody else unless you need to boil it. I buy water bottles and I use water bottles for coffee, for tea, etc. Then of course you have your processed food. And my question let me look at you guys when I say this. Oh, I can't do it right now because I have my screen up. Yes, no, I can't. I'll ask it in just a second. Processed foods, Wi-Fi, hard liquor, drugs, and this manufactured marijuana is not the same as the marijuana that grows from the ground. It's another story. And then of course the cell phone and the ELF radiation, right? So my question for you guys, and let me bring myself up so you can see me. How many of you, in light of COVID-19, with this health scare that's happening, with everybody being on pins and needles about their body, about their health, about dying, about other people making them sick, about people wearing masks, how many of you have actually changed the way you live? The way you eat? What you put in your body? The way you operate? Because when I talk about the spiritual war and like America and all of us individually and collectively being under divine judgment, that's the divine judgment. The writing's on the wall. Are you willing to change? Oh, and not to mention, this was the last slide. If you're in a cubicle or you work in an environment where you are not getting access to sun and you're there for 8 hours to 10 hours, especially if you are sitting under, it's on the tip of my tongue, the lighting, Starts with an F. That's the type of lighting that they use in hospitals. It is very detrimental to your health. Fluorescent, very detrimental to your health. Sitting under those fluorescent lights, not getting access to natural sun, not to mention gluttony and nonstop stimulation, which is what social media is. Calcified pineal glands, Alzheimer's, autism, ADHD, genetic mutations, geoengineered human beings. And all of this was taking place under George Bush 1 and 2, under Bill Clinton, under Barack Obama, under Donald Trump, and most certainly under Joe Biden if he gets elected. This has been happening over the heads of all of us for at least 20 years. And I know for a fact because I've been studying it. And as the consciousness of the masses, not even being able to pick up on this right above your head, let alone respond to it, let alone react to it. This is happening all over the world. What do we think God is thinking of what we've allowed to happen to our planet? How could you not see this? How could you not know? And then you go online and search chemtrails and it tells you a story about contrails. And now you think you're an expert because you read some shit on Wikipedia, but you won't even look up in the sky. $100,000 antelope died in just a few weeks. This was in 2015.
A discovery off the coast of Chile that has baffled authorities. Thousands of langoustines washed up in central Concepcion province. Beaches have been covered red as the Dublin Bay prawns were found.
Millions of
Investigators
prawns.
are trying to find out what has killed so many crustaceans in this case. It's too early to say whether it is natural death or an environmental crime, but police...
300 pink whales off the coast of Chile, beached out of nowhere. These beautiful creatures that don't hurt anybody, they don't ask anything of any of us but to be left alone. Something happened in that area that killed 300 whales and they were beached. And I still couldn't find so I used to talk about this in my presentations. I still couldn't find a legitimate response to why it happened. Now, if you know about HAARP.
Conservation officials are sounding the alarm over a mysterious trend in the U.S. Southwest.
This was a couple of weeks ago.
Different species of migratory birds, including sparrows and blackbirds, are dropping dead in alarming numbers. This has been happening across New Mexico for several weeks, leaving biologists baffled.
It appears to be an unprecedented and a very large number. It's very difficult to put a finger on exactly what that number is. But I could say it could easily be in the hundreds of thousands of birds.
There are several working theories about what might be killing the birds, including a recent cold snap, drought, or smoke from the Western wildfire.
Or HAARP, or chemtrails, or the constant infiltration and manipulation of the upper ionosphere and the frequencies that govern our planet. Honeybee colony collapse disorder. 35 states have reported cases of bee colony collapse disorder. Beekeepers have reported an average bee population loss of 45%, with surviving colonies significantly weakening. And if you know anything about the ecosystem, you know how important bees are to the way that our entire planet actually operates. California wildfires, all up and down California, the Pacific coast, all up and down Oregon, in different areas in this whole entire, the West Coast, these fires are taking place, right? Does this look normal to you? Just look at this picture. And I'm gonna get into this in Science as a Weapon. Again, I don't wanna get too controversial. I don't wanna get too conspiratorial. Does this look normal to you? Houses completely leveled and the trees aren't touched. Now, I was in Oakland back in 90, I think it was 91, whenever we had the big fire in Oakland, when all of those houses along the mountainside burned up. And I went on site and was like, I was in the midst of these properties. I went and looked at it. You know, it was a big thing if you lived in the Bay Area. I know what houses that have been in a mass fire element are supposed to look like. Completely flattened, layered to the ground, nothing surviving except trees. If you back to the pyramid. The system of racism, quote unquote, white supremacy. That term is a misnomer, but I use it as a point of direction so we all can be on the same page. I think we should stop using that 100%. I think we should stop using the word minority because there's nothing minor about Black people, African people. We are outnumber Europeans. It was 13-1. I don't know what the exact number is now, but like that concept of minority is very disrespectful in my opinion. But at the top of the pyramid, so you got to ask yourself, who has enough power to pull off chemtrails? Which, if you're still arguing that chemtrails are really a real thing, like my page is probably not for you. HARP, antennas, these major antenna systems that basically shoot out these strong microwave frequencies. And their intention was to put a hole in the to be able to put a hole in the upper ozone layer so that they could target their enemies in certain parts of the world, right? Geoengineering, genetically modified food, frequency manipulation, owning the weather. Who has the power to shut the entire world down? Y'all think Biden and Trump are the people that are running the show or that could potentially be the power players or that could potentially be making decisions? No, those are pieces being moved around. Who has the power to run a 30-year operation right over our heads where everybody can see it, clear as day, and no politicians, no celebrities, no state bureaucrats, no global bureaucrats, no people in positions of power or people with major platforms will even talk about this shit? Who has that type of power to shut the whole world down? The top of the pyramid. Who's at the top of the pyramid? You don't know. You can say their names. We could throw out names like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, and you know what I mean? We can retell that story, but you don't see these people. You're not going to defeat these people with guns. This is a spiritual war. They control and harness energy. We keep saying this is about vaccines. Vaccines is just the tip of the iceberg. This is about controlling your energy, controlling your mind, and owning your soul. "2045, the year man becomes immortal." Artificial intelligence, transhumanism. Again, I get into this in Science as a Weapon, where I kind of lay the base and the foundation to prove the point. But I just need us to understand, particularly Africans in the diaspora, Black people in America, people in positions of quote unquote power, celebrities that have money and influence. Look at the things that we focus on and the things that that we talk about, and look at what's happening behind the scenes. You think they're moving in fear? You think they're afraid of an uprising? No, because they go to such an extent to dumb you down, to null your senses, that when it does come, which it's here now, it's not going to be a revolution. And when I say that, and I say that, let me clarify that. They expect people to march and protest. They expect people to bust windows out. They expect people to burn properties. They expect innocent civilians to get killed. That's all a part of the plan. They have things in place for those things. The real revolution is owning and taking control of your mind, your energy, your consciousness. Donald Trump tests positive for coronavirus, right? Now, when I saw this, you know, I've been talking about the war at the top of the pyramid, right? There's the Hillary Clinton faction, and then there's the Donald Trump faction. Hillary Clinton is with the Bidens and the Obamas and the Bushes and whatnot. They've already got the agenda in place. Donald Trump comes from left field. There's a coup in the government. Donald Trump ends up taking office. And we know he lost the popular vote. So all they have to do is just control the Electoral College. You don't even know who the Electoral College is. So you can't even have beef with the Electoral College in California. You can't even have beef with the people in Atlanta that are holding the right to your vote. You don't even know who they are. But you're online arguing amongst yourselves, belittling people because they don't vote, belittling people because they don't participate in the system, belittling people because they voted for Biden, belittling people because they voted for Trump. You don't even know who the people are that are actually making the calls that put these people in office. You know how absurd that is? But when I saw this, my third eye started jumping. I said, okay, they may have made an agreement at the top of the pyramid. He may have gotten sick. They may have zapped his ass, slipped him a Mickey, so to speak, and he really got sick. Or it might have just all been an act. I'm more inclined to think that it was an act, but I wasn't really paying it. You know, people said, oh, he really looks sick. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he wasn't. It doesn't really matter. He ain't sick now. Do they have a cure already? They scared him a little bit, put him in his place, then gave him a shot, brought him back to life. But I started looking at this and then how he moved afterwards. And then what's happening now with the election, with there being no definitive president and all the time that it's taking. Was there a meeting of the minds at the top of the pyramid? And they said, okay, we've been fighting long enough. Let's come together and fulfill the ultimate plan. Because the plan is going to get fulfilled, whether it's Biden or Trump. It's just Vaseline or no Vaseline. Which do you prefer? If this dude ain't a demon or a devil, Bill Gates, and I talked about him in the scientific intervention in our affairs, who nominated him? Who elected him? How come Kamala Harris won't talk about him? How come Trump won't talk about him? Cory Booker or whoever your favorite Black politician is. Who is this dude? He put this up on his YouTube channel. The Grim Reaper being made up of mosquitoes. Now, the excuse is that mosquitoes kill people. They're the ones that transfer the viruses, etc. Mosquitoes have been here since the beginning of time. Now, all of a sudden, they are the world's deadliest killer, right? And I'm not saying that they don't pass on germs, but I'm trying to make a point here. He put this up on August 17th of 2020. This video, which was very just wicked and evil and just, it just really, really reeked of Satan, right? August 20th, 2020. Now, mind you, he put this up on August 17th, 2020. CNN posts on August 20th, 2020, 750 genetically engineered mosquitoes approved for release in the Florida Keys. Should we be concerned? Should people in Florida be concerned? Is he telling you what's about to happen? Because, you know, Satan needs your consent. He needs to let you know what he's doing and receive no resistance on your end. And even beyond that, who do we have in the field? Where's our veterinarians and our people that go and do the soil samples and that test the air quality and that test the rainwater and that know what's happening with the trees and that know what's that. This is our planet. We're supposed to be the vicegerents of this planet. Do we have people that are even in this game, not playing for them, playing for God? Biologists, chemists. We have enough basketball players and rappers. People that are actually scientifically minded, whether you studied under them or not, that have access to the tools to be able to figure out what's going on. Like I said in the other video, I know if I had access to a laboratory, I would be way further in my work and in my research.
We're gathered here in the Rose Garden to establish the United States Space Command. It's a big deal. As the newest combatant command, SpaceCom will defend America's vital interests in space, the next warfighting domain. And I think that's pretty obvious to everybody. It's all about space. Their wonderful family and several of their friends. Our adversaries are weaponizing Earth's orbits with new technology targeting American satellites that are critical to both battlefield operations and our way of life at home. Our freedom to operate in space is also essential to detecting and destroying any missile launched against the United States. 2016, since January 20th. SpaceCom will soon be followed, very importantly, by the establishment of the United States Space Force as the sixth branch of the United States Armed Forces.
Did he say weaponizing Earth's orbit? Did you hear him say that? Space Force? Who are they planning for? What are all these resources being used for? Who are they getting ready for? What's in outer space besides black matter and stars and the sun and the moon? Who are they preparing for? We are so far behind the 8-ball. And then just so we're clear that this isn't like a Donald Trump thing, like Donald Trump is the devil, you know what I mean? Like he's the problem, he's the one, he's doing all of this, it's his fault. No, the first day Obama took office, and that's not what this article is from, but I specifically remember the first day he took office, one of the things that he said in his, and I tried to find the original footage, I couldn't find it. One of the things that he said was that he was going to be allocating resources specifically for geoengineering, and he mentioned geoengineering. Obama takes bold step to geoengineer climate change. President Obama, Secretary of State John Kerry, and National Security Advisor Suzanne Rice, days after warning, I've got a pen and a phone, and if Congress won't do its job, I'll do mine. Obama met with his national security team to greenlight a new climate change project. Call me the Rainmaker, he told the group assembled, alluding to the plan's code name. Reasons for, the Rainmaker. What is geoengineering? How much of this weather that we've been experiencing, these earthquakes that we've been experiencing, look at what happened to Haiti. Haiti still has not recovered to this day. Louisiana, for some reason, keeps getting hit over and over and over and over and over. Is it God? I don't know. Maybe God's using man. I'll talk about this in the next video. Check this out.
Almost universally, ancient texts and traditions have reminded us that we are connected. They've said that we are one.
Hold on. I didn't mean to do that. I need to turn on some light in here. I see. Share my screen. Bring Greg Brayton back up. Okay, here we go.
Well, almost universally, ancient texts and traditions have reminded us that we are connected. They've said that we are one, that we are part of our world, that we're part of one another, that we're part of the earth and the changes in the earth. In the last years of the 20th and now the first years of the early 21st century, science is now giving us that reason for our logical mind to make the connection, to see how we're related and how we influence the world, and how by honoring that connection through our hearts, we literally have the power to influence the very fields of this planet to sustain life in the world, sustain the health and the healing and the well-being of our bodies. And it's all about the magnetic fields of the earth. Where this really came into focus was around the events of September 11th, 2001. It was during that time that the United States has two satellites. They're called the GOES, G-O-E-S, Geosynchronous Environmental Satellites, I believe is what they're called. One positioned in the Northern Hemisphere, one positioned in the Southern Hemisphere. And the role of these satellites is to measure the magnetic fields of the Earth and send back readings every 30 minutes. And those readings normally fall within a certain range of data that scientists are relatively used to seeing. Well, it was in September of 2001 that scientists began to see some readings that were off the map, just off the scale compared to what they'd seen in the past. And they said, well, what's happening? What is it that could be influencing the magnetic fields of the entire planet to such a degree that we're seeing these big spikes that our satellites are sending back? We've never seen these before. They overlaid the data from the satellites onto a calendar of months and days, and lo and behold, what they found is that the spike was occurring precisely during the time of September 11th, 2001, and even more precisely that the first spike occurred 15 minutes after the first plane hit the first tower in the World Trade Center. Now, the reason this is so important to a scientist is because for 300 years, our science has been based on two false assumptions. The first false assumption is that everything is separate from everything else, that what happens in one place has no effect on what happens anywhere else. And if it looks like it does, it's only a coincidence. The second false assumption is that our inner experiences of thought, feeling, emotion, and belief have no effect on the world beyond our bodies. Based on those two false assumptions that have been accepted for 300 years by scientists, I can see why there would be a disconnect when they're looking at magnetic fields of the Earth spiking precisely the moment the human emotion of the planet is focused on a disaster. This led to a series of studies in the bottom.
Now, I need to make sure that we understand what Greg Rading is saying here. Let me bring myself back up. He's saying that the governments of this world, particularly the American government, have satellites and have electromagnetic monitors situated all over the planet, and they can monitor levels of emotional peaks and valleys, right? They can measure when there's high levels of energy shifts based on human consciousness around the planet. These are the people at the top of the pyramid. So after 9/11, when that first plane hit, they saw a significant spike in those electromagnetic meters that showed the elevated energy and the fear, right? And the focus on a mass level around the world based on it happening. Now, my question for you is, and remember, we were talking about these people at the top of the pyramid harnessing energy, right? Calculated or what's the word I'm looking for? Honing in on people's energy and what you're focused on, that demonic satanic energy, taking fear-based consciousness, taking anger, taking hatred, taking vitriolic energy, and allowing it to serve their subversive purposes. And if you know anything about God, the devil, whether you look at the Bible, whether you look at the Quran, or any of the ancient philosophies, that is exactly what that demonic energy does, right? What do you think they picked up on, which of course they would never say, when COVID-19 was taking place? How many millions of people, 8 billion people on the planet? Out of that 8 billion people, how many people would you calculate that were living in a fear-based consciousness? The Black Lives Matter protests, how many people, when were the energy spikes of anger, of vitriol, of hatred, right? Because they know, they have the data, they study people for a living. What do you think the energy spike was during that time? The question is rhetorical. It's more so about starting to think about this than having to have people sit down and tell us how to think or tell us the things that we should even be considering. The more dense the population, the more subject you are to the energy and vibration of others, specifically, especially when there is a mass movement of chaotic energy. You compound that with the collective chaos, with the individual fear on top of 5G, also 4G, Wi-Fi, fluoride in water, GMOs, vaccines, metal dental fillings, pesticides in food, metal particles in the air, constant bombardment of negativity on top of lack of spiritual awareness and connection with nature. Is it any surprise that so many people have compromised immune systems? The CDC says people sick with COVID-19 can break quarantine to vote in person. I mean, I don't know how anybody, I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie. Is this real? So we're trying to avoid millions of people dying, and this virus is so deadly that we should quarantine and stay away from each other. But make sure you get out there and vote. Does that make sense to you? The reptilian, there are three brains that human beings, three aspects of our brain. Two we share with other, animal species, so to speak. And then the neocortex, which is the one that is particular to the human brain. So you people talk about reptilians a lot, right? Well, there's an aspect of the human brain that is the reptilian complex. Then there's the limbic system that we share with other mammals. And then there's the neocortex, which is the human brain that deals with logic and abstract thought and even free will. The reptilian complex is the lowest portion of the brain. It is the oldest and most difficult to manage part of the brain, the major brain part of the brain in reptiles, and its highest form of communication is mating. Now, I need you guys to listen to this. The reptilian brain's highest form of communication is mating, rituals, body language, sexual gestures, and mating interests. This is the reptilian brain in action. This is the level that most people or many people are operating for as far as their state of consciousness. It's a grown man. This is the reptilian brain, live and in the flesh. This is the reptilian brain, live and in the flesh. Human beings trampling human beings. And this is in South Africa, by the way. Human beings trampling other human beings to get a TV on sale. This is the reptilian brain. Think God is proud. This is the reptilian brain. Purely operating from a sexual based premise. The reptilian brain. And this is what's establishing culture for women around the world and men. The part of the brain that you share with lizards. The mammalian brain is the seat of emotional communication, fighting, fleeing, mating, and seeking nourishment. That's the higher of the limbic system that deals with emotions, empathy, and parenting. And then the neocortex, which is not fully developed in other animals, which separates human beings from other mammals, is studied to validate, but they study human beings in order to validate human behavior, right? Or they study animals to validate human behavior, right? Check this out. I'll respond to my son's text message. He's taking me out to dinner tonight. Hold on one second. Check this out.
Is the systematic implementation of the fall of the republic and the rise of the corporation of the United States. Every major event is a step in the ladder to achieve that end. COVID is just another rung in the ladder, which is why there's a deliberate mixing of all the wordplay, right? I mean, we should stop calling it, quarantine. That's a term designated for people that are verified sick. This is a house arrest mandated by the state. You should stop calling it, social distancing, because there's nothing social about forced isolation. We should stop saying safer at home when millions of Americans don't have basic necessities adequate to fit their needs. It assumes that everybody's home is equally as safe as the people that are making the statements. We should stop saying, this is for the greater good, right? When you close the economy, killing millions of businesses that families have worked generations to establish, that's anything but good. We should stop saying this is the new normal. That's just blatant mind control drivel. There's nothing normal about forced isolation, treating your neighbor like they have the plague, breathing your own bodily waste, wearing masks, living in constant fear of contamination. That's normal. I mean, after all, if the virus is so deadly, why hasn't it wiped out the homeless who don't social distance, wash themselves regularly, let alone, live in or have access to a sterile environment? Last year, 1.5 million people died of tuberculosis. Why were you not wearing a mask during the tuberculosis pandemic? You were endangering, public health and safety, along with billions of other people around the globe. So why didn't you wear a mask? I'll tell you why. Because the mainstream media didn't tell you to wear a mask, right? And so because though 1.5 million people died from tuberculosis, there was no tuberculosis pandemic any more than there's a coronavirus pandemic. What you're really participating in is a beta test for AI systems and facial recognition. See, these cameras work best when people are, distance apart. Now they're actually testing through machine learning how to recognize, a face that's partially covered. It's also a way to easily determine who's compliant and who's not. Who does the propaganda work on and who it doesn't? Now get this, there's some ironies that are here, right? A society that kills millions of babies a year for convenience has shut itself down to prevent adults from dying. People that on the one hand slaughter babies in the womb by the millions are now preaching to the masses about the sanctity of human life. It's double speak, double talk. It's the two doctrine policy. One for the initiated, one for the uninitiated, one for the inner circle, another for the masses. It's like saying, if I violate the stay-at-home order, I can be arrested, but you're letting convicted criminals out of prison so they don't get coronavirus. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. If there's a real pandemic, does it require, faulty virus models, rigged test results, 81% false positives, inaccurate news reporting, staged hospital overruns, manipulated death certificates? Nope. When the government shuts down, millions of small businesses, but doesn't lay off any government employees, it's not about the health. When the state bans dentists from practicing, but deems it necessary for abortion clinics to stay open, it's not about your health. When the state prevents you from buying seeds for your garden, but allows you to purchase lottery tickets, it's not about your health. An institution that, has the ability to destroy all of Earth through, alleged nuclear warfare should not regulate personal self-defense. An institution that's caught trafficking drugs shouldn't be able to regulate plants. An institution that's racked up $23 trillion prior to coronavirus in debt shouldn't be allowed to manage the retirement fund. An institution that was caught spreading STDs should not be allowed to run healthcare. If people are really concerned about public health and safety, in general, but, they don't care if people, eat garbage, drink poison, smoke cancer, and take prescription drugs, but think that toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and masks are going to protect them from the boogeyman coronavirus. This is a special kind of stupid that I can't address here. You should ask yourself a couple basic questions. When did you consent from, you creating a government to serve you, to you serving the government ruling over you? If you want to know, who's in charge, just think about who you can and can't criticize.
I saw a couple of comments asking, who is this guy? I've been trying to find him. I don't know. Someone posted this. I've seen a couple of people post it, and I just saved it. I try to save all the content of, truth speakers that I can find. So if you find out who he is, please let me know, because I would like to, have access to his content. I don't even remember what this.
Lying just beneath everyday reality is a breathtaking.
Okay, yeah, I will. Let me see. That's taking me away from where I'm trying to go right now, because I want to close this out, because I definitely don't want to leave you guys without the righteous information to help us to learn how to avoid this hell that is about to rain down on the people who are not in the right frame of mind and in the right frequency. You notice that he talked about AI recognition and he talked about facial recognition. So just be clear, if you are putting up images of yourself with a face mask on, that is feeding the system and feeding the intention of the system, which is to be able to recognize by film and on camera and in pictures and, all of the different media entities, to be able to recognize people, even the people that are trying to somehow hide their faces or, change their looks, so to speak. And I just, it's one thing for it to be a global pandemic. I was like, damn, people are really like that comfortable wearing these masks, like to be taking pictures in them. Nobody really knows who you are with the mask on, but I don't know. Anyway, Dr. Laila Africa said melanin is like a battery. Melanin may be viewed as a battery that is partially charged and can always accept an electrical charge. When sunlight or other energy comes in contact with the melanin battery, it increases the charge of the battery to a certain degree. When the energy is captured, the battery has more energy to use in the body. This means that the Black human can charge up his or her melanin just by being in the sun or around the right type of music, sounds, or other energy sources. You have already been armed with everything that your mind and your body needs to subvert any sickness, any illness, any physical condition in your body. Literally, the earth will supplement whatever you lack in order to bring yourself back into a healthy balance. But if you deny yourself and if you allow the scientists of this world to become your gods, then you are not in frequency and in alignment with God. You will not have the energetic backing, so to speak. And that doesn't mean God is not with us always. That doesn't mean that God leaves some of us and takes the other ones. No, we're talking about frequency. You being in alignment with your highest self, you mentally, spiritually, and emotionally maintaining a certain level of internal clarity, of physical clarity, of emotional, spiritual, and mental clarity, knowing who you are and operating from a love and abundance-based consciousness opposed to fear. If you look at this radio, right, this is, and you juxtapose this with a regular radio station, when we talk about frequency, right? If you tune into 88.1, you'll be on a station of gratitude. If you tune into 94.9 or 88.1 is joy, 94.9 is gratitude, 103.1 is love, 108.2 is peace of mind. You tune to the AM frequency, and 320 AM is anger, 600 AM is depression, 900 AM is hatred, 1410 AM is fear. What I'm telling you is that when you are in those lower realms of frequency and energy, and you are moving in fear, Your energy is being harnessed, number one, by evil and wicked entities. But number two, you are attracting other people, other circumstances, other situations that are in alignment with those frequencies into your life and into your reality. So you can't be on frequency 320, which is the angry despair frequency, and expect that you're going to interact with people and attract people that are vibrating on a peace of mind frequency. You can't be operating on a fear-based frequency and then think the universe is going to continue to bring you people that are based in and rooted in an energy and a frequency of gratitude and joy. This is science. And a lot of people, when they talk about emotion, it's like, oh, I don't want to hear that emotional stuff. But when you really understand the power of the heart, the power of you as an electromagnetic being, we are living so far beneath our potential as human beings. It is literally mind-blowing when you really start to understand how the brain and how the heart and how the body operates. You have a built-in litmus test, a pH chart, which will tell you if your body is acidic or if your body is alkaline. You can test your saliva, you can test your blood and find out if you are an acidic being or an alkaline being. There is plenty of herbs. There is plenty of green nutritional food that will take you from being on the acidic scale of the chart to the alkaline scale of the chart. But guess what? Popeyes is going to keep you in red. Coke and Pepsi is going to keep you in red. White sugar is going to keep you in red. And on and on and on. But your body already has the built-in litmus test to be able to tell you how close you are to God and how far away you are from God. Fear is anti-God. And I say that understanding that there is nothing in our reality that is not a reflection of God in some sense, form, shape, even, Satan, the devil, right? This is an aspect of consciousness that turned against itself for whatever reason to move closer to the darkness, to magnify the darkness, which all of us have in us, a higher and a lower self. Some of us are more geared towards our higher selves. Some of us more geared towards our lower selves, right? But fear takes you out of alignment with the creator. You don't have the backup that you would have. You don't have the ease that you would have when you're operating from a space of fear. And just to kind of, we talk about frequency and vibrations, right? The people at the top of the pyramid understand how this works. There's this guy named solfeggio, which these are the most prominent frequencies when it comes to learning and understanding music. And they coined the term after him because he so-called discovered them, even though we know that's not the case, because that's how the pyramids were built, using energy and using frequency. If you tune into 398 hertz, it'll help you liberate guilt and fear. If you tune into 417 hertz, it'll undo situations and facilitate change. 528 hertz, transformation and miracles, DNA repairs. 639 hertz, connecting and in relationships. 741 hertz, expressions and solutions. 852 hertz, returning to spiritual order. Now, what are they talking about? Are they actually saying that there are frequencies in music, or that there's frequency in instruments or frequency in sound that will actually help you to not be depressed, that will actually help you to get your life together, to communicate and deal with other human beings better? Well, don't you have to be a tunable instrument of frequency in order for that to work? So if you are a tunable frequency or a tunable antenna, what are you tuned to right now? Are you tuned to fear? Are you tuned to the election? Are you tuned to Democrats? Are you tuned to Republicans? Are you tuned to Black Lives Matter? Are you tuned to BET? Are you tuned to God? Are you tuned to Satan? Are you tuned to the devil? Are you tuned to Islam? Are you tuned to Christianity? Are you tuned to Buddhism? Are you tuned to a low vibrational frequency that's always mad and always frustrated? You blaming women for all the problems that men have. You blaming men for all the problems that women have. You blaming white people for all the problems that Black people have. You sharing constant content that keeps that low vibrational frequency and energy reverberating in the system, the human paradigm, then guess what? The plan's right on schedule. We think that, particularly, you know, African people, melanated people, we think that being Black is your pass, your entry into the party, your entry into the kingdom of God, your entry into heaven, so to speak, heaven on earth. But it's not. Frequency is. And it's a lot of people that are gonna get lost in the sauce because they're not working on themselves, because they're waiting for Babylon to fall. But Babylon can be in you. And for a lot of people, Babylon is in them. Your skin tone is not your pass. Your frequency is your pass. Like I showed the video of Neville Goddard talking about Abdullah, this black man who in the 1930s in the Depression era was able to move around and do whatever he wanted and teach some of the best scholars of this world. A black man, Ethiopian Jew, or Orthodox Christian, I should say, Ethiopian Orthodox Christian. In the 1930s, his frequency was his pass. If you constantly are running into problems and situations and ordeals and circumstances that are combative and constantly having issues with other people, your frequency is off. It needs to be fine-tuned. I don't need to know you to know that. It's a spiritual law. I'm almost done, you guys. You guys, I mean, if you talk for a living or you do, so you know, but like talking, and especially when you speak with passion, can be really exhaustive. Yogi Ramacharaka said, there's nothing in absolute rest in nature. A single atom deprived of vibration would wreck the entire universe. And every time I read that, because remember, if we look at ourselves, we are made up of 7 sectillion, which a couple of people sent me commenting on the video. Thank you very much. Or 7 zeros, 7 followed by 21 zeros. 7 sectillion atoms is what makes up me, my physical being, right? Just me. Then there's 8 billion people on the planet. Then there's the sun, the moon, the stars, the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the mountains, the peaks and valleys, the deserts, the sea, everything that comprises our planet. And he said a single atom deprived of vibration would wreck the universe. We live in a very organized universe. The earth is living. The universe is living. This is a living being, Mother Earth. It's always a feminine connotation, right? It's living, it's breathing, it's vibrating, it's moving, right? And we think we're separate from that. But he said a single atom could throw the whole thing out of equation. That means there are no chance circumstances. That means you're not randomly meeting people. That means you're not randomly having experiences. That means no police officers randomly getting behind any Black person at any given time. And I know that, will make people feel some type of way, but the law of cause and effect is always at play. It doesn't mean that if you get killed by a police officer, you deserved it or that it was justified. What was your soul's mission when you came here? Or his or her mission when they came here? This is just the pH spectrum, the alkaline and acidic. If you eat in these categories, then your body's acidic. If your body's acidic, you're susceptible to disease. This is not rocket science. It's pretty simple. If you eat a continual alkaline diet, if you find yourself somewhere neutral, which is where most of our body's pH needs to be, you're not going to get sick. This is why I walk around and I'm not vexed about getting sick. Ra'ul Nefer Amen in his book, I'm almost done, you guys. I might have like 3 more slides. In his book, The Medunetter, He says, in the chromatic system, evil is the product of the failure to control the animal faculties. How much evil is happening in the Black community on a day-to-day basis? The animal faculties, the reptilian brain that is running our culture, unfortunately, in certain aspects, being ran and implemented by the 85%ers that our people are now adhering to at a time when God has completely set the world still in order for us to get back in tune with our higher selves, be in alignment with consciousness, higher vibration, higher frequency. Stopped everything, put everything on hold to give you a chance to breathe, to give you a chance to get some momentum, to give you a chance to have some wins, to give you a chance to start the business or to go back to school or to rest or to sleep or to stay away from things that you've been doing that were not in your best interest. God has given us every opportunity. Stop the whole entire world, and we still can't control the animal faculties. And we wonder why we're under divine judgment. This is the process of an egg being released from the ovary. This is the process of how excuse me, an egg is fertilized and how life starts. Egg moves through the fallopian tube and awaits fertilization. This is where you were. This is how you started. An egg and a sperm cell coming together and creating life. All of the information for who you would come to be, your hair color, your eye color, your skin tone, your height, was already in you when the sperm fertilized the egg. And it started out as a zygote, which is a female. All creatures, all human beings start out as zygotes, which tells us a little bit about the formation of the universe, but that's another story. Look at this complex, amazing process that takes place before you ever even see the world. And you actually think that the scientists of this world know better for you than the creator? You actually think that the scientists of this world can create a vaccine that can keep you out of harm's way? I mean, granted, you take the vaccine, you know, if that's what you want to do. But I'm saying this is so much bigger than a shot. You actually think that there's not consciousness and energy awareness that's supporting you, that's guiding you, that loves you, that protects you? You actually think we're in this alone? When this 8 billion people on this planet and every single one of them started out this way and nobody had to do anything once the sperm fertilized the egg? Dad didn't have to rub the belly every day to make sure the baby grew. Mother didn't have to take shots to make sure the ears formed and the eyes formed. And look at how disconnected we are from the greatness of who and what we really are. The low level of mediocrity that people are living in when you are literally a walking, talking, breathing miracle. And all of this took place before you ever even saw the world, before anybody knew who you were. 100% under God's care and under God's control in the womb. And now all of a sudden you think you're alone. You think Biden or President Trump has to become president for you to feel some sort of ease, for you to rest at night. How disrespectful are we to the Creator? So you want to wear a mask on the beach, huh? You want to wear masks in the sun, huh? The seawater and the ocean water and the air have all kind of compounds and elements that will heal any sickness that you have. And you let somebody separate you from this because you fear humanity which was created by God. I really want to understand. I really want to be empathetic. I really want to be compassionate, but I just really do not understand how human beings got so far disconnected from God. When we talk about the electromagnetic field of the heart, right? Your electromagnetic field can be measured up to 6 feet. Some say the Heart Math Institute says up to 10 feet away from you, right? So when you are in amongst other human beings, whether you are angry, whether you are happy, whether you are liberated, whether you are frustrated, there is an energetic transference that is taking place between you and the other person. So like I said before, when you live in dense populations like New York, where there's people on top of you, people below you, people next to you, people everywhere, you are very susceptible. If you are not in tune and alignment with yourself, you are very susceptible to the energy and the consciousness of other people. This is the energetic dance that is taking place all the time. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what race you are. Your heart is sending off a signal of energy, and it is transferring information to and from other people. So if we have millions of people that are living and operating in a low vibrational frequency amongst us, if we are not fasting, if we are not eating alkaline food, if we are not getting enough sleep, if we are not getting enough sun, if we are not breathing in an adequate amount of oxygen, if we are not taking care of ourselves, if we are not spiritually aware, if we are not settled in our emotions and operating from a love-based frequency, if we are not spiritually in tune with the time, connected to nature, connected to God, what do you think your frequency is emitting? What are you giving to the world? Because we always, the world is taking from me. The world's not fair. It's hard out here. What are you giving to the world? What do you have to offer to the world? What is your energetic stamp, your level of consciousness? What are you vibrating when you walk out in the planet? What are you vibrating when you walk into a room? What's your signal? What's your message on an energetic level? How do you affect people when you move in the world? You see, I still got all of these. I told you guys, it's my editing process, man, is something serious. This is a heart rate that's based in appreciation. This is a heart rate that's based in frustration. In Kemet, as in all African societies, the Neteru, or God, is considered to be ever present, and each and every individual communes with the Neteru and is responsible for respecting them and being them, especially the principles every day. Many gods, one creator. So when people feel some type of way, why are you saying, the gods are at war? There's only one God. Look at what you give to the system. Look at how much people have invested in this election. Look at how afraid people are. Look at how frustrated people are. Look at how angry people are. Look at how involved and immersed people are. You can't tell me that that's not your God, because are you giving that type of energy to your God? Let me let you look at me so you can see my face. Do you give that type of energy to your God when you pray? When you walk in nature and you're in the mountains, do you focus your energy and your intention and your mindset and your spirit and your consciousness on God the way you do Joe Biden and Donald Trump? People don't even realize that they have taken on a master-slave relationship with entities and people in power and democracies and governments and local governments and bills and laws and statutes. And You love, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be nice. But who is your God? And this is why it's hard for me. You know, I had some brothers come on my page and kick up dust because I was talking about, you know, the male-female dichotomy in the scripture, you know, and they came on beating their proverbial caveman chest. I am man, hear me roar. Woman, you stay in your place. You know, that funny shit makes me laugh. But you've never studied the Neteroos. You've never studied African cosmology. You've never studied any spirituality from any other indigenous culture, but you want to beat me over the head with one book out of many books. The universe is a book. Have you studied it? Nature is a book. Have you studied it? I'm almost done, y'all, I promise. This is the Orishas, and all of these different deities represent aspects of consciousness. In the truest, purest sense of African spirituality, you're not supposed to worship any of these deities. They are aspects of consciousness for you to point to as a reference point of who you want to be and how to get there. The Neteru, the Orishas, even the prophets in the Bible, those different named men, those different named women in the Quran and in the Bible, those are aspects of consciousness that are here, that are meant to guide you towards your higher self, not to be worshiped. I'm trying to find the right slide to end on, you guys. I'm not going to go through all of this because I'll be talking for another hour. The weighing of the heart. This image in the Kemetic inscriptions in the temples, and Ma'at talks about the weighing of the heart and being able to put your heart on a scale and balance it with a feather. And if your heart is as light as a feather, then you can go on to heaven, be admitted into the afterlife, right? So this is all talking about, again, bringing it back to common terms, your heart chakra, your that electromagnetic energy, that frequency that's coming from your heart, how you're moving and operating in the world, how you treat yourself, the judgment of you, the judgment of you. I need y'all to see my face when I say this. The judgment of you. How do you judge yourself? How do you see yourself? How do you feel about yourself? How do you love yourself? How do you manage and handle yourself? That's the judgment. That's the jihad. That's the battle every day. We focused on all these other entities, all these other savior complexes. The democracy's your savior today. Biden will be your savior tomorrow. Kamala Harris, whoever the next local official. None of that has to do with your personal power. I don't care who gets in office. I really don't. None of that has anything to do with my personal power. Now, do I think that Donald Trump is a demonic entity and a savage human being and a despicable just person? Sure. Would I ever sit down and have a cup of tea with him? Probably. Because, you know, I have a certain role to play here. But when you understand what the Joe Bidens of the world are really planning and what these people don't have power. They are faces to the seat of power. And I know local elections are important. I'm not really talking about local elections because nobody's sitting around the round table talking about local elections. Everybody's on pins and needles around the world right now. These are modern day saviors. The gods are at war. I'm going to find one good slide and I'm going to end. Let me just find the right one. Let's see. Okay. Okay, we'll end with this and then the next one, right? This is the middle image is the mathematical reflection of pi. This is what they used to create the pyramids. It's a mathematical formula, right? This mathematical formula is found in everything. It's found in your hand to arm ratio. It's found in the size of your ears, the spiral in your ears, the way your face is made up, your skeletal structure, also the genetic coding or the physical coding of a pineapple, of a leaf, of a rock, of sand, of dirt, right? It's this numeric formula that's in everything, right? The spiral, you see the baby forming in the womb, you see the spiral found in the universe, right? And then you also see this image of this woman who has a child in the womb, right? And women specifically in this shift into this age of Aquarius, not where women are going to be rulers. We're not going to do what men did to us. That's counterproductive. Absolutely not. That is not what this is about. It's about balancing the masculine and the feminine energy. It's about men coming back to the center and being whole again and not being only ruled by their masculine the masculine aspects of their personality, but being balanced in the masculine and feminine energy. It's about women who have taken on too many masculine attributes, having to do it all, having to be it all, having to fight, having to do everything and take care of the household and parent and do what needs to be done, coming back and moving away from being so masculine focused and being balanced in masculine and feminine energy. And of course, primary feminine energy for the women, of course, primary masculine energy for the men, but we are 1000% out of whack. And it's way beyond just a presidential election. And it's way beyond just a disease that may or may not be killing people, that may or may not be a plague. This is about you coming back into alignment with who you really are at the core of your being. That's what this is all about. I can't say it any more simple than that. I could make it complex, but it's not necessary. That's the mathematical equation of God right in front of our eyes. We can see the universe. We can see the numeric valuation, right? Everything is mathematics. We can see the creation of life, which is the replica of the Big Bang Theory or how the universe actually came to be. And then we can see the original woman, the original mother that gave birth to everything that there is, right? Representing the physical womb. Now, women have to come back in alignment with their other womb, which is the mind, which is where you can give birth to nations and to men and to children and to women and to cultures and to civilizations, whether you have children or not. Up here, not with your ass, not twerking, not, you know what I'm saying? That's not where your power lies. You can do it. But if you're a queen, you understand how your energy affects the broader culture. That's what I said when I said you can be a good man and not be a king, right? Because a king operates and moves based on how his movement affects the whole, not just himself. A queen operates and understands that how she moves, how she acts, how she thinks affects the whole. So how many queens and kings are we really producing? Last slide, I promise. Way too loud. Sorry, guys. I thought I turned the volume down on this, but I hope you guys can hear me. This is the best telegraphic imagery that they have been able to produce with one of the highest forms of satellites, not satellites, you know, my brain is slowing down on me. This is imagery of telescope, the best imagery that they've been able to produce with one of the highest the best telescopes that this world has to offer. This is the actual universe. This is how it looks. This is what we can't see with the naked eye. This is what's happening all around us. This is what's happening above us and below us. This is the God that we say we serve, representing itself in the physical realm. Now, can you imagine a God or a creator that would create something this wondrous and then leave you to fall victim to a small, petty, minuscule disease, or a small, petty, minuscule police officer, or a small, petty, minuscule judge, or teacher, or racist? Can you imagine? They don't even make sense. You come in contact with those people based on your frequency. You attract experiences based on your frequency. You attract circumstances based on your frequency. And sometimes it's not deserved. Sometimes we go through traumatic experiences that we don't deserve, but they fine tune us and shape us for our destiny. All things work for the greater good. This is what God looks like on a universal level. And then if you just want to see it on an individual level, just look in the mirror. Man in his true nature is an individualization of God. This means that you are the self-expression of the infinite power of the universe. The writing's on the wall to me. This is a great and dreadful day. You know what I'm saying? And great if you are in alignment with your higher self, and dreadful if you are not. But this is 100% a time for self-accountability, for self-reflection, and for internal focus. And if you are one of those people that is consistently focused on whatever it is outside of yourself, you are not in alignment with who you are really meant to be. Today is my 42nd birthday. I am in a really, really, really good place, a really clear place. The ancestors and the creator and the universe speak through me to you. Sometimes I don't even remember half the stuff I say in my videos. And then I'll talk to my friends and they'll be like, yeah, you said that. I was like, I said that. And it was on my heart to sit down and have a conversation with you guys, and to project some strength, and to project some assurity, and to project some clarity and some wisdom to you, so that you can start moving with clarity and with assurity and with wisdom and with righteousness, so that we can all meet at the top of the righteous pyramid. That's where my mind is at. My mind is at the top of the pyramid, not necessarily exposing those people at the top of the pyramid, but becoming qualified to sit at the top of the pyramid of God's kingdom. ZaZaAli.com is my website. My email address is info@ZaZaAli.com. I have been getting your emails. I have been reading your emails, and I'm very humbled and thankful for all of the love that I've been receiving as of late. I put my information for my website, for my books, in the description, as well as my Cash App. Yes, I am accepting all birthday love all day today. I'm going to LA this weekend, so I'm gonna kind of let my hair down a little bit and go sit at the beach at the foot of God, and have a conversation with the Creator and make sure I'm doing my part to expel the darkness so that we can live in light. Yeah, and this is a beautiful time to be alive. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. I don't know how long I talked. I think I started around 4 o'clock, and apologies for the technological. I'm a creative, and my goal is to put my mind into the world. And sometimes I kind of not really, all there technologically, because I'll be so focused on the mental and the spiritual aspects. So please charge my mind and not my heart for the delay and the whole situation with the technology. But I think I know what to do now. ZaZaAli.com is my website. I appreciate your time and attention. Have a beautiful day. And I'm going to go enjoy my son and my friends at dinner. And then I'm going to go see my people in LA this weekend. All right. Peace and love.